Bettor Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm YouTube's. What's up on a Monday afternoon? Howard Bender's with me to recap some of our wins and losses in Week 7. Maybe a little bit more red on the betting card this week. We will also preview some Monday Night Football and two postseason baseball games tonight too. So we'll dive into all of it. But yeah, Howard, it was for both of us. It was a little rough yesterday.
I got to tell you, man, right? Like, you're a dog owner, like watching football and betting and everything like that over this weekend. It was like, your dog is laying right in front of you and just like drops that sneaky fart when you're sitting there and your mouth is open and you just get it all at once. Like that's what betting NFL Week 7 was to me. I will say this. I said this on Friday's show. I believe I also said it on Wednesday's show. I definitely know that I said it on the Fantasy Alarm show on Sirius XM. I didn't like this week. I didn't like this week at all. And I even put it in like the intro in my Best Bets article. I was like, I'm literally only doing this article because you guys want what my best bets are. I'm not betting heavy this week. This was not a week where I was feeling amazing about it. And that's the thing. You bet what you know. I always say this. You bet what you know. And when I know that it's just not a week that I like, I won't bet heavy. Right? Like that's I have that switch that allows me to turn that off. I don't need to have that action. So, and I'm very careful about that. It's like, to me, betting isn't just about having fun and having skin in the game. I do it as a grind. I use it to like pay rent, bills, and things like that. So, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, no, and listen, I remember you saying that, and that's the thing with with betting for NFL, for any sport. It's like, you, especially tonight, you got a marquee Monday Night Football game. You want to have some skin in the game in some way, but if you don't have a specific lean on, who wins or loses, the over-unders, or any props, it's like you don't have to force some of these picks. But with us, it's with this content business, sometimes we got to give out these plays, and maybe you're not feeling totally confident in some of them. But listen, every week here, though, we got to own the wins, we own the losses. We can brag about some of the wins we get, but we got to, admit some of those times when we're wrong and we miss on stuff. So that's what we're doing here.
Well, line up and get ready because we got a list. You're going to see a lot of red this week.
A lot of red. Yeah, let's look at the card here. Yeah, this was some wins, a little bit more losses than wins. Got to start, though, with this Chiefs-Chargers game, because I had the Chargers at the 5.5 as the underdog. Listen, after the first half, I thought the Chargers would keep this close throughout, keep it close into the fourth quarter. And it also was looking at it like a higher scoring game. You had the over in this game. We had I think 7 second half points after a really high scoring first half. So you're over pushed. So thankfully it wasn't a loss, but still, like I am so shocked even today that game did not go over after the first half we saw. Chargers, rightfully lost by, did not cover that spread, but the over, that should have been a win for you. I will say that.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's really kind of funny because, the NFL, and we'll talk about that even more when we start talking about our narratives for tonight and what our picks are for the Monday Night Football game. But, I was like sitting there and watching, just like thinking about the Chiefs Chargers game. And on Saturday, when I was doing my best bets article over at Fantasy Alarm, I noticed that the line went down 47.5. And I was like, I kind of find that interesting because I still was very much on the over, but now that all of a sudden, like, that money's coming in on the under and we're starting to see this bet down a little bit, I got a little I got a little, wondering about that. So I actually put a unit on the over again. So at 47.5. So
Well,
that
cashed.
was it pushed here on this bet because I had already put the bet in at the 48. Now, when it went down, I was like, I'm going to do it again. I doubled down on that one. And ended up pushing on one, but winning on the other. That was that and Jerome Ford over 55.5 rushing yards, which he got on a 69-yard touchdown run, which was great because he then only rushed for 11 yards on the next 8 carries. So, I mean,
hey, a win's a win.
A win is a win. Not very efficient. Then he sprained his ankle, and I was like, hey, whatever. But he hit that prop right there on the over, and I think that's pretty much where it was good for me, Servo.
Well, I'll start.
I need a tackle prop. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. There's a tackle prop in there.
Your tackle prop for Terrell Bernard hit. The other tackle prop for Edmonds did not hit. But my 2 wins, both with the Eagles-Dolphins game last night, hit. Thankfully, the under cashed because the Eagles were looking like they might score. DeAndre Swift actually got tackled around the 5. He could have scored and hit the over there. But so that thankfully came in on the under. And then, DeAndre Swift over his rush attempts in that game too was a win. But yeah, I had some losses there, as you saw. The DK Metcalf went void because he was inactive. Did not think it was a risk going in, but thankfully it just went void. If he played and left early, it would have been a loss. But the Brian Robinson over rushing yards. He got banged up in this game, so that that was over early.
Dude, the Bills. The Bills. Come
on. Dude, so
man.
we talked twice. We talked on Wednesday's show about our producer Adam Bernard maybe picking the Bills as
2
his
survivor pick. I know. Bernard, get in here, man. Get in here because I'm surprised. We didn't talk about this one.
Did you ultimately go with the Bills?
Yeah, I told you guys it was locked in. Yeah, I don't care. It's it happens. I'm not upset about it.
We
the
said
only thing
on
I'm upset about is that I didn't go with my gut because I said Jacksonville early out of the gate, and then I should have stayed with that. That is my only regret, and I talked myself out of it.
We said on Wednesday and we said on Friday when we talked about this game, we think the Bills are the right side. Howard went with the Bills on the spread there. I didn't think the Patriots would actually keep it close enough, and freaking Belichick and the Pats actually come out and win the game outright.
Oh, screw Belichick. Dude, the Bills defense, what the hell happened to the Bills defense? Because there's zero chance any team lets Mac Jones march down the field that quickly at the end of it. That was mind-boggling there. That's Bills defense. That's not Belichick scheming. That's the Bills defense being like, you know what? We kind of suck.
Well, yeah, the injuries are starting to catch up to the Bills defense. Losing Tre'Davious White and Matt Milano both out, and a couple other guys banged up. Yeah, but at the beginning of that game, though, it was kind of Belichick and his defense really frustrating Josh Allen and limiting them. So that's what kind of if that doesn't happen that first half, then maybe it's a different result. But
I'm sorry, Adam.
Yeah, listen, it's a survivor pool. It happens. Again, I didn't have great options available to me. I'm in that situation. Now, I could have taken the Chiefs at home, but again, the Chargers always, what it is? The Chargers always play them tough, but they always lose. They don't beat them. They make you think they're going to beat them because they always play them close. Remember Kansas City on Thursday night last year? Justin Herbert gets hit in the chest like a missile. And they're always there, but they never go across. And you know what's going to happen next year when I take the Chiefs at home against the Chargers in a suicide pool, a survivor pool? They're going to break through. You heard it here first, 2024 season.
Oh, the Rams, by the way, also the other pick that we talked about. I think we were settling in that it was the Rams, the Bills, and the Seahawks were the 3 that I liked, and then you, Adam, you said that you couldn't take the Seahawks, so it came down to Bills Rams. Those were the two options?
It was Bills, Ram. I didn't really consider. I know you threw them out there, but I never really considered them heavily, just because the Steelers defense. I don't like that going against that, especially because the Rams haven't shown they're better than I thought, but I don't think they're a good team still yet.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you were hesitant about taking the Rams because the Steelers coming off the bye too. Tomlin as an underdog.
So it was the Bills, it was the Chiefs, it was the Jaguars, and that was really it. Because I didn't have the Seahawks available. I didn't have any of the normal options available to me. So that's what happens.
Maybe you should have went. I don't think you had the Ravens available, did you?
Oh, I used them.
Because maybe you should have. Yeah, everybody out there. I gave out the Lions +3. That was done early because the Ravens just smacked them. 38-6 was the final score in that one. That was. I really thought the Lions would come out and have a chance to win it outright, but nope. The Ravens just really put the hammer down and showed that they are legit.
It's so funny with that because I got to shout it out to the Action Network. I wish I knew the name of the guy that did the breakdown for them on that game, and I mean he led with the entire it was like he was like in my head, he's like. Starts talking about, all the talk about Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year, Detroit Super Bowl, and Jared Goff MVP. And it's all coming. It's all coming. It's all coming. Like every time that happens on a team, it's the NFL. What happens the next game? They end up crapping the bed. I mean, he then started to also kind of break down, Lamar Jackson versus, this specific type of defense and their coverage patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like that whole walk you right down narrative street and be like, this is the prime example where Goff is getting MVP talk and the Detroit Lions are getting Super Bowl buzz. So it's time to knock them down a peg. It was a very good, strong breakdown from him because I was sitting there, I was trying to figure out how Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews were like the chalk in DFS. They were like 25% owned in the Millie Maker. So, that right there, it's I was like, where did this come from? And then I kind of looked deeper into that game and I was like, wow, I totally just missed all of that in looking at that game breakdown. That was, on me for that, but
clearly I did too.
Oh, I mean, a lot of people did. I mean, well, the people who missed that breakdown and then the Lions truthers out there who do think that they're going to Super Bowl and that Jared Goff is the MVP.
Yeah, I don't think I was ever behind Goff MVP, but thanks, Adam, for jumping in there.
Yeah, I was like, wait, is Adam looks like he's meditating on something. He's trying to figure something out, and then he was just like, I'm out of here.
By the way, shout out to Britt Flynn, our teammate over at Fantasy Alarm. She threw in our chat over on YouTube during Friday's show about Darrell Henderson's anytime touchdown prop.
Yes.
Shortening odds and threw that one out. He comes through. He scores. He gets in the end zone for the Rams, even though they lost. Also, if you're a fantasy guy or bet any props for the Rams, the whole scenario with the Rams backfield this weekend was, we got word that it'd be Royce Freeman as the likely starter, but Henderson would be involved, and Zach Evans didn't even touch the ball in this game. Just crazy that how that ended up. So. Something to monitor moving forward for the Rams. Just some interesting, it's crazy. We always get one of these weeks where, the reads, maybe the public views of certain teams just kind of goes the opposite way. And you kind of have to reset. And, on Wednesday's show, we'll talk about early leans for next week. And, I got to reset some of my thoughts about some of these teams. Just, crazy stuff. By the way, the other result that kind of surprised me, neither of us had a pick on this game, but the Falcons beating the Bucks. You and me have both been off and on with the Falcons all year, but they come out and get that win, even though it wasn't a great game from Desmond Ridder. They survived that one and get the Titans this week, who I saw they just traded away their safety, Kevin Byard, to the Eagles. And there's been some talk of are they going to look to trade Henry? They're going to look to trade Tannehill. So we'll see. But
trade deadline's next week, man. That's it, right? October 31st.
Yeah, it's coming up. So we'll see if there's any more moves that could affect some of these odds. So yeah, that's week 7. You know, we wiped the slate clean, but we do have Monday Night Football to kind of wrap up the week, get some last picks out for this week. You can see the 49ers here, 7-point favorites on the road tonight. Over under is at 43.5. Game is in Minnesota in that dome. Injuries for the 49ers, just to note off the bat, we have Deebo Samuel out. We have Christian McCaffrey expected to play, but he is questionable, so keep that in mind. Trent Williams is also out for the 49ers, their tackle. I think those are the big ones, right, Howard, for injuries? Yeah.
Yes, those are the main ones that we've got tonight. Yeah, this is an interesting game. I'm like, you know, I was looking at it in one fashion this morning and kind of, you know, putting together the best bets article. And now, like, as the day has gone on and I'm like diving a little deeper into like narrative street, you know, I'm starting to get a little bit more concerned. I'm not going to back off on my pick, right? Because, you know, once I make a pick, you know, I want to be sure that it's, you know, it's there. And I'm not going to like sit here and waffle back and forth. But there are basically two schools of thought when looking at this game. One is that San Francisco is going to, you know, get retribution for their loss to the Cleveland Browns, and they're going to punish the Vikings while they do that. And hey, don't worry, because Kirk Cousins shits the bed on Monday Night Football. He's 2-10, and so this is easy. Niners cover, take the under kind of a thing. And then all of a sudden, you know, obviously then it kind of creeps in where I'm like, well, yeah, Kirk Cousins, that's what everybody's saying. That's what the entire public is like, well, Kirk Cousins, he shits the bed on Monday Night Football all the time. He's 2-10. So, you know, there's no way he's going to, you know, have a great game against San Francisco, who's got such a great defense. Don't they always have such a great defense? Yeah, they lost last week, but that's okay. They still have a great defense, right? So, I mean, now it's like, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying, though? Like,
I know exactly what you're saying, and I
walk away from this immediately. Like, you know, it was like a bad week for me, you know, just betting, and I didn't play heavy because I knew that I wasn't like it. And I'm like having that whole, like, I'm letting that creep into my process right now, which is bad, which is a mistake, which is like, don't bet me. I'm sorry. Like, you know, I'd hedge.
Well, listen, so you're going with the 49ers minus the 7, right? That's one of your picks here.
Yeah,
I was leaning towards that because of, you mentioned Kirk Cousins' bad track record in Monday Night Football in prime time. He just always lets us down if you're backing him. The 49ers injuries are definitely a concern on their offensive side. You know, especially if we'll see how much McCaffrey plays. I mean, I know he's going to expect it to play, but we'll see if he is limited his snaps and usage at all. I'm with you on the under, though, here. I do think you look at the 49ers side with their really strong defense, and I think their offensive issues or their offensive injuries are really going to force some you know, consistency, efficiency on the offensive end where I think that the 49ers defense will hold Cousins in check, I assume. And on the other side, I just see this being a lower scoring game overall. It did worry me a little bit this morning. We saw the over-under. See, it's 43.5 at BetMGM, and it went up to 43.5. It wasn't 43, so we'll kind of see that. But I just think the under is the way to go here. Staying away from, you know, the spread, but I think the under is the way.
Yeah, I said, you know, I was like, I don't know, 28-10. I mean, if McCaffrey's healthy, he's good to go. I get that there's like a slight tear or something like that he's dealing with. So like, yeah, like all of a sudden, but I will say they've got Jordan Mason and they've got Elijah Mitchell, two guys who, while no, neither one of them is McCaffrey, they're both versatile. You know, Mason's better plotter between the tackles, but he can still catch a couple of passes here. Elijah Mitchell, same thing. You know, his specialty is maybe a little bit more on the pass catching front, running in open space, but he can do it there. So I feel like the Niners can get their ground game working, whether it's McCaffrey or like a rotation really of the three with him kind of, you know, bowing out. Like, I feel like that's the the way they kind of want to go.
Yeah. I mean, listen, last year before the 49ers traded for McCaffrey, Mitchell was doing fine as one of the backs there.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like over the years, we know with Kyle Shanahan's offense, you can almost plug in, any capable running back into that spot as long as their O-line controls the run game and really sets the tone there. Yeah, I do think with Samuel out, though, I just feel like it's the passing. I know he hasn't been like as involved as as a pass catcher every game for the 49ers this year, but I do think that aspect of it, it's just going to be a lot of Ayuk and Kittle on the receiving end. And I just think it's going to be overall just kind of like a game managed situation where they lean on the run, whether or not McCaffrey's back there. Just kind of lean on the under for this one. I think we both are. So how about props? I'll throw one out here. I like Brandon Ayuk. I mentioned Deebo Samuel out. I think this leads to a bigger Ayuk game. Over 73.5 receiving yards. I bet MGM. Went back and looked. On the surface, Ayuk has been over this in 3 of 5 games this season. 148 and 129 receiving yards in 2 games too. He leads the Niners in targets, receptions, and yards overall, even with Samuel healthy. But went back and looked. In 4 games that Samuel missed last year, Ayuk had 80-plus receiving yards in 3 of those 4 games. His usage went up, especially a couple of those were later in the year when Purdy was under center. He clearly was looking Ayuk's way. I think those two have a rapport. It's Kittle and Ayuk. I would suggest some Kittle props if you want to look that way, but I just like Brandon Ayuk's track record and looking at this Vikings pass defense, which is about middle of the pack this season. But in recent games, they have allowed some opposing wide receivers to go for 70-plus receiving yards to go over this line for opposing wide receivers in their 6 games this year. So I think the wide receiver and they've held tight ends a little bit lower outside of Travis Kelce in a game earlier this year. Most tight ends have not had much success against the Vikings. So that's my thoughts on Kittle. For Gabe the Babe asking that in the YouTube chat right now. I feel like they might, Jordan Hicks on Kittle or their safeties, Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, probably, combining to kind of limit Kittle because they know this Vikings defense knows with Samuel out, it's Ayuk and Kittle. Maybe that opens things up for Juwan Jennings as a possible dart there, but I think overall I'm higher on Brandon Ayuk here to go over his receiving yards prop.
Yeah, I'm actually in alignment with that as well. I put Brandon Ayuk in my captain seat for a DFS lineup that I built because I agree with you, right? I mean, Juwan Jennings and Ray McLeod are not like those are like those are dart throw kind of will they be incorporated? Will they not? I do think the focus will be on Ayuk and then Kittle after that. I'm mid-level on Kittle. I think you've got enough of a rapport with Brock Purdy and these starters right now that I think he'll try to lean on them a little bit more. The comfort factor of just having it game in, game out. So I'm in on that. I've got a prop talking about Purdy here. I've got the under on his passing yards. It's actually it's whatchamacallit. It was 239. I forgot to make that just. It was 239.5 on BetMGM. And I'm taking the under there. And so I'm like, Dominic is in the chat with his same game parlay. I like his Niners money line. I like his Ayuk over 4.5 receptions. I do worry about Purdy and the over on the attempts for 28.5, only because I don't know how much really they are going to, kind of lean on this run, obviously not having Deebo Samuel there and having this, rotation of running backs. So I'm kind of 50-50 on the over 28.5 attempts, but I mean, I do like Purdy's under, but I mean, his under really, I mean, you could still just do the short yard passing and, he could still throw 220 and, still do that in like 30 attempts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that same game parlay. The Niners money line, good. I'm on Brandon Ayuk, so I like his receptions or receiving yards. The Purdy one though is maybe the one I'd have some pause on. Looking at his game logs this year, by the way, he's been under 28.5 passing attempts in
all but 2 games.
Yeah, all but 2 games. I was gonna say he was over it only in 2 games this year. So, and for your yards prop, he's been under that line in all but 2 games, or all but 3 games, actually. But yeah, I just think it's going to be more of a run-focused offense, but with Ayuk probably with 1 or 2 longer completions against this defense. Rish over on YouTube also throwing in that he likes the Niners money line tonight. It's expensive, so if you want to throw that in with a parlay, maybe with my Phillies tonight, I'll suggest that. If you want to throw a little parlay between the Niners and Phillies money lines, or like Dominic's doing, throw it in a same game parlay with the Niners money line. It's just as you see on the screen, -300 is the money line. Just really tough to lay multiple units on that to cash it. It's probably the same opinion, right, Howard, on the money line?
On the 49ers on the money line?
Yeah.
I'm okay with the 49ers on the money line.
Okay. So you'd pay just because it's really expensive.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm not going to. Yeah. Well, what is it? It's like -210 or something like that.
Well, on the screen there, -300.
-300. No, I'm not. Yeah. Who's laying that?
I'm looking. BetMGM's got -350 now.
Nah, so. I'm not. No. I mean, you could throw that into a parlay, but I mean, bet it on its own. Who's saying bet that on its own? Nobody's saying that.
Well, Rish on the YouTube chat said he likes Niners money line. Mulroyd here. If CMC is healthy, that Purdy line should be close. It really comes down to how many touches, how many snaps we do see McCaffrey out there. If he takes on a full workload, it's obviously a different story for Purdy's passing. If he doesn't, and or if he kind of re-aggravates that oblique injury early, then maybe we do see more passing. So definitely something to monitor during the game. Awesome chat activation here. We got Leo Ramos on YouTube. How am I looking, guys? Madison under 41 rushing, over 20 receiving, and 62 rushing yards for CMC. And then, he's got a Steph Curry over 0.5 point. Yeah, well, that's going to cash. And then boost. Kirk under 241 passing. I don't know. Well, you got to pick on Kirk for this game, so I'll let you take the Kirk side of that one.
I don't know if I want. I mean, I kind of feel like when you're sitting there, the under 241. That narrative I'm not even sure how much that works in with regard to my narrative and thinking that if the 49ers are up, right, then
passing,
then there's going to be Kirk Cousins is going to have to throw the ball more, and you might not be completely successful at it, but if he's got something there. I mean, Madison under 41 rushing, that doesn't I'm okay with that. Over 20 receiving and 62 rushing for CMC. If he is healthy, he can easily hit both of those. The question is will he be healthy? Steph Curry is your boost, and then the Kirk Cousins one there. And the Cousins one just doesn't work alongside my narrative. So I do worry about that for you, Leo.
And real quick on that, looking at the Vikings this year, in their 4 losses, Kirk Cousins has been over this prop. He's at least 280 passing yards in all 4 losses this year. So if we think the 49ers are going to win this, and as you mentioned, the Vikings passing more, would stay away from his passing yards under for that one.
Yeah, I do have. I'm taking Kirk Cousins over half an interception at -125.
Okay.
Thank you, BetMGM. I'll just take this one. I mean, listen. It's the Kirk Cousins. Maybe he that's how he leads off the game, and everyone's like, "Oh, see, I knew it." Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football. I mean, he'll ball afterwards, right? Throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns, but still, what's going to happen is he's going to throw that first pick, and we'll at least collect on that one there and enjoy it. Niners lead the league with 10 interceptions, so
I could see that happen, especially, if we're talking about more Cousins passing attempts. It's just, especially late in the game, if these 49ers DBs just have a chance to really time him up and get a pick late.
Is it week 8 yet?
After tonight, we can flip the page. M. Rojas says he likes Kittle under 51.5, assuming receiving yards, and then Madison under 45.5 rushing yards, probably same game parlay for that one. Listen, I was talking about Kittle a little bit earlier, how I think the Vikings defense has been good against opposing tight ends in terms of yards allowed this year, outside of Travis Kelce, who was the Chiefs' leading receiver in that game. But again, that's Kelce and the Chiefs' offense with the less talented receivers around him. But I do think this is more of a Brandon Ayuk game for the 49ers passing wise than Kittle. Kittle might find the end zone, but I think his yards might be a little bit limited here. And then Madison, I think the under on his rushing yards is the way to go. Just especially, we're talking about these narratives of Vikings probably trailing, probably passing more. And again, it's against a really good 49ers rush defense. So obviously you'd look to the under anyway. We got Leo, another prop for another bet here from Leo. Okay, so we revised it. Here we go.
So Madison, he just took out the Kirk Cousins.
I would say it's a safer bet. The McCaffrey aspect, though, I do think adds some risk because you just don't know how much he's going to play, how many touches he does get. I know he's expected to play. He reportedly really full strength, close to full strength. But I do think that's you just got to bake that in. You got to know about that risk. So that would be my only pause for that same game parlay. M. Rojas, we're going to get to some baseball in just a sec here, so stay tuned for our thoughts on your Texas-Houston bet. All right, another prop I'll throw out here. I got to go with a defensive prop. I've been hitting on these defensive props for these Monday night, Thursday night games. You've been hitting on some for Sunday's games. Cameron Bynum, over 4.5 solo tackles for him, minus 120 at BetMGM. He's been over this in every game this season. He leads the Vikings in solo tackles, leads them in total tackles this year. So I'm going right to this. I think the 4.5 is just a little low for his track record this year. He's averaging almost 7 solo tackles per game this season. They're asking him to, he's a guy that's probably going to be covering Kittle at times, if probably covering McCaffrey out of the backfield as well at times. But just the way this Vikings defense, it's him, Jordan Hicks, and Harrison Smith getting a lot of the tackle opportunities. They're two safeties and the middle linebacker. So I'm looking at Bynum here. And if you look back at 49ers games this season, just with the way their offense runs with, mostly balanced, but obviously leaning on the run more, throwing some, Brock Purdy throwing shorter completions to Kittle, Ayuk, Samuel when he was in there. But it just leads to more tackle opportunities for safeties and defensive backs on the whole. And if you look back at their past games, defensive backs, especially safeties, have been among the lead tacklers against them. So I'm looking at Cameron Bynum here to go over his 4.5 solos.
Well, I mean, that might conflict a little bit with me. I don't know if it really conflicts, but I like Jordan
Both things
Hicks.
Can be true.
Both things can be true, but I need Jordan Hicks over 8.5 tackles plus assists. So that's where I'm going to lean on that one there. It's at minus 135 on BetMGM. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that because listen, I like your Cameron Bynum pick, and he has gone over that. There are, as Adam Bernard just put into our private chat here, plenty of tackles to go around.
That's what I was just gonna say, because especially if we're saying, all right, the 49ers are winning late, they're gonna be running the ball a lot, whether it's McCaffrey, Mason, Mitchell.
I've just got the creepers in my head about everything that's gone on. I'm telling you, Kirk Cousins, everybody's turning around and being like, Kirk Cousins is terrible on Monday Night Football. This is the week this is the you like that week. You like that? No, I really don't, Kirk. Thank you. I hope it's not the case, and I'm betting that that's not the case. But would it be the biggest surprise after seeing the week that we've just had?
No.
So
I do think the 49ers are going to bounce back from losing to the Browns last week.
Well, so do I.
Yeah.
100%. That's why I bet it.
If this was the game, coming off of their big win over Dallas, then maybe I'd say, okay, maybe they're in for a letdown. But I think, I think coming off that loss to the Browns has me leaning towards them here.
Does Kelly Green, does it just signify hope? Is that what that is? I'm trying to figure it out because, you're very hopeful. You're very optimistic. And I love that. I do. I'm just wondering if it's the effect of the soothing nature of a Kelly Green shirt like you're in right now.
It's very pleasing on the eyes. If you watched that game last night, I mean, how awesome did those jerseys look?
I don't know, man. It blended right into the turf. I didn't know where anybody was. All I saw were shoes and socks going all over.
That's the idea. That's the idea. It's like you ever watch Boise State on their blue turf and they wear the blue jerseys?
Exactly. That hurts my eyes, man. That hurts. When you get old, man. I mean, yeah, the Smurf turf, as Bernard says. Yeah, I'm always oh.
I just like to be optimistic until it doesn't work. Until it doesn't happen, but. Then we can kind of look back on it. But why not just be optimistic with these props in life, everything? All right, so that's Monday Night Football. Any other picks you want to give out for Monday Night Football?
No, I don't think I had any other Monday Night Football picks.
All right. By the way, tonight you can download the free BettorCast app now to see Moose and Keith's game preview of tonight's Monday Night Football matchup between the Niners and Vikings. Then you can answer pregame questions, which are now live in the BettorCast app, and then answer live in-game questions after kickoff there to win redeemable tickets for authentic sports merchandise. No purchase or subscription is necessary. It's always free to play. You must be at least 18 years of age. Download the BettorCast app by scanning the QR code right there on the screen or in the Apple app and Google Play stores for free. And you can play along with us during tonight's Monday Night Football game for Niners Vikings. All right, let's talk some baseball because we got two postseason games tonight before the World Series is set, and we got Game 6 for the Diamondbacks Phillies. Phillies leading 3-2 in that series. We got the Rangers Astros Game 7 tonight. Should be an awesome game tonight. After the Rangers won last night to even up that series. So we got both these games. First pitch for Diamondbacks Phillies is coming up in about a half hour. So we'll touch on that one first. Any picks for this game?
For the Phillies game, I'm just going to go nice and easy. If I'm not anything, I am consistent, right? Trey Turner over 1.5 total bases. You're going to give me one of the hottest hitting players who has fantastic numbers, career numbers against Merrill Kelly. You're going to tell me that he's not going to get more than 1.5 total bases at plus 105? Come on. I'm in on that one.
I'm totally with you. I'm not going to go against you on a Phillies pick. I'm going with Merrill Kelly under his outs prop. Under 15.5 is what I got at BetMGM. Fine with the minus 155 because I just don't see him going past 5 innings here. Diamondbacks in win or go home mode. And I feel like you're going to pull Kelly early if he gets into trouble, especially, in the 3rd or 4th inning. If he starts giving up a few runs, they got to limit the damage as early and as often as possible. So, and they have with the day off yesterday for these teams, Diamondbacks bullpen is a lot more well-rested coming in here. They have some of their longer guys available. So I think they could be looking to pull Kelly if he gets into any early trouble. Game 2, we saw Kelly against the Phillies. He allowed 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings, was actually going right along fine, but he got into trouble in the 6th inning when he faced Schwarber for a 3rd time, and Schwarber hit a 2nd home run of the game. So he had 2 home runs off of Kelly in that game. I think that is a key part here for this bet because I don't think they want to have Kelly face Schwarber a 3rd time. I feel like they're going to want to get a lefty in there, probably, Mantiply or another one of their lefties to face Schwarber to just not have him go deep. because he did it twice in that game too against Kelly. So I think that's a key part. And I just see that third matchup happening before he gets into maybe the sixth inning. So under 15.5 outs for me. All right.
I could dig it, man. I'm not, I only care about Trey Turner. No offense to you, but and your Phillies homerism and your desire for them to move on and just win this.
Yeah, hopefully his total bases prop cashes while Kelly gets pulled early.
First inning, right there. Like Kelly leaves because Trey Turner shamed him so much.
If he gets into trouble in the first inning, there's a chance he's out before the end of the first
there
inning.
You go. And we both win.
Yeah. All right. How about Texas against Houston? Game 7 tonight. We'll see which of these teams gets to the World Series. M. Rojas in our chat here from earlier, he says for this game, he likes the under in this one, under 9, and the first 5 under 4.5 runs. I do think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Last night we saw the Rangers put up a big number there. We've seen a lot of the higher scoring games in this series already. I just think this game 7, with both teams having a lot of their top pitchers available, top bullpen arms available behind. We got Scherzer versus Christian Javier. I could see them both teams just really using every matchup to their advantage pitching wise to limit the runs here. So I do think I would be on the under if I was going either way. I think the first 5 under I'd be more interested in than the full game under. Howard, what about you? Any thoughts on these or just any picks for this game that you got?
I mean, listen, as far as the under goes, first 5 under, I think that, you, like you said, they're just going to pull out all the stops. And as soon as somebody does get into trouble, I'm sure there's going to be a very short leash, particularly with Texas. I mean, we know that. I mean, it's just, But listen, I've been on the Rangers since these playoffs started. I'm going to continue to do it. Maybe it takes them 7 games here, but if you're going to give me plus 105, at BetMGM for Rangers money line, then I'm going to stay with that. But shout out to the old school. Once a Howard Bender fantasy favorite, always a Howard Bender fantasy favorite, Michael Brantley. I've always been a big fan of the player himself. I think he's just one of those underrated guys who, it's not a huge amount of fanfare with them, but they can turn it out and really, come up in big situations. And Brantley's always kind of been that guy. Great numbers against Scherzer as is. You get that lefty righty matchup. So I'm going to say Michael Brantley over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBI at minus 110. And just, I'll bet that separately with the Rangers money line, and then I'll parlay the two of them together if I can.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Brantley BVP numbers if you hadn't said it, but yeah, the 357 career batting average against Scherzer, and it's a big sample size too, 20 for 56. So yeah, he's got that track record against Scherzer. I'm going with I think your Rangers money line could cash, and this Brantley prop can cash, but I do think Scherzer's outs under is going to cash as well. 13.5 is the number at BetMGM minus 130. I just think, so last night we saw Eovaldi go 6 2/3 innings, let the Rangers really rest a lot of their bullpen. You only use 2 of the relievers, but basically their whole bullpen is well rested, especially their late inning guys, but their middle of relief, their long guys.
Yeah, but they still suck, dude. Like they're resting them because they suck, because they don't want them to throw.
But I think Scherzer, if he gets into any early trouble with this being a game 7, I don't think he lasts past the this outs prop is just getting past the 4th inning. I think there's a chance he's out after 3 or 4 innings. I don't think he's going to go a full 5 innings. He's still coming off his shoulder injury, and he started the earlier game, game 3 against Houston in this series, and he only went 4 innings. He was pulled after 4, was on a pitch count of 65 to 70. I think that's, from what I've seen, going to be the same range. I just don't think it's a full 5 innings for him tonight. So even if he's kind of throwing 4 shutout, it's just kind of how it's going to work out for him. I think with his pitch count that he's not going to go a full 5. So. Going the under there. By the way, you've been on this series. You've bounced back and forth between the Rangers money line, the Astros money line, but it's been cashing both ways because it's just how the series has gone, just going back and forth. So, got to give credit to you.
I may look and sound like I'm new at this, but I've been around. I've been around the block.
Those that know you.
There's some. You know what? There's some Kelly Green. Like this is Kelly Green in here on this shirt pattern. So I'm feeling the vibe.
By the way, before we get out of here, I just gotta remind you of a bet we made last week.
Oh shit! What did I do?
Well, Taylor Swift was in attendance at the Chiefs-Chargers game.
Oh, that's right.
You bet me that she would not be. I think you just have to wear a Taylor Swift shirt on the show at some point.
I'm happy. You know what? I'm happy to.
It's a good bet to lose. Yeah,
I'm happy to. I'm embarrassed that I forgot about it. You should have reminded me. I would have ordered it as soon as I knew, and I would have ordered it last night. But I will order my shirt.
No worries.
Right after this
We're
show.
in no rush.
Oh, I got to do it, man. I got to figure out what looks, what's going to look good on me.
Oh, yeah. You got to get a good one if you're going
to. I'm going to consult Shannon Blunt from SiriusXM. She is the resident Swiftie. I will have her pick my shirt for me.
All right. That's it for us. We'll be back tomorrow doing a huge NBA little betting preview on tomorrow's show. So stay tuned for that. And again, the Bettorcast going on tonight for Monday Night Football. So go download the Bettorcast app if you haven't already. And then coming up later tonight on the Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy on YouTube's, we've got Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse at 9 p.m. Eastern. So keep it locked on here and the Bettorcast tonight. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Later.